Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Patiye Namaha. Uttarakhand, chapter number 7. Vishnu kills Mali. The recitation begins now. And as clouds assail a mountain with showers, then the Rakshasas, representing clouds, setting up shouts, began to assail Narayana, representing a mountain. And Vishnu, of bright blue hue, being surrounded by the flower of the night rangers with dark visages, resembled the mountain Anjana on which the clouds pour down. And as locusts flood a field, gnats throng about a flame, gadflies cluster around a pot of honey, or makaras range the deep, so the shafts shot by the bows of the Rakshasas, having the energy of the thunderbolt and endowed with the velocity of the wind or thought, pierce Hari as if at the universal dissolution. And those mounted on cars assailed him with their cars, and those mounted on the backs of elephants assailed him with their elephants, and those riding horses assailed him with their horses, and the foot soldiers attacked him stationed in the sky, and the foremost of Rakshasas, resembling mountains by means of darts, rishtis, and tomaras, suspended the respiration of Hari, even as a pranayama doth that of a twice-born one. On being so tried by the night rangers, like the great ocean by the fishes residing in it, that invincible one, taking his Shranga, showered shafts among the Rakshasas. And with sharpened arrows resembling the thunder, and endowed with the velocity of the wind, shot from his bow, drawn to its fullest stretch, Vishnu cut off Rakshasas by hundreds and by thousands. And dashing away the Rakshasa ranks with his arrowy showers, even as the wind aroused dasheth away a downpour, that best of male beings blew his mighty conch Panchajanya. And winded by Hari with his utmost might, that water-sprung king of conches, endowed with terrific blares, roared as if afflicting the three worlds. And the sounds of that king of conches struck terror into the Rakshasas, even as in a mighty forest a lion strikes terror into the hearts of elephants in rut. And thereat the horses could not keep their ground, and the elephants were reft of their temporal flow, and shorn of their virtue at the roars of the conch. Heroes began to topple down from their cars. And those beautiful arrows discharged from the Shranga, resembling thunderbolts, after riving those Rakshasas, entered the earth. And in that conflict, pierced by the arrows discharged from Narayana's arm, the Rakshasas began to drop to the ground like mountains struck with a thunderbolt. And the wounds on the persons of the foes inflicted by the discus of Vishnu discharged blood in the streams like mountains discharging streams of red chalk. And the sounds of that king of conches as well as those of the Shranga, combined with the roars emitted by Lord Vishnu himself, swallowed up the roars of the Rakshasas. And Hari, by means of his arrows, cut off their necks and arrows and standards and bows and cars and ensigns and quivers. And like fierce rays streaming about from the sun, like torrents dashing from the ocean, like elephants coming down a mountain, or like showers descending from clouds, the arrows shot by Lord Narayana pursue the foes by hundreds and by thousands. And even as an elephant pursueth a tiger a wolf a dog a cat a snake, or a snake a rat, so the mighty Vishnu pursueth the Rakshasa host, and others, struck down by him, measure their lengths on the ground. Then, having dispatched thousands of Rakshasas, the destroyer of Madhu blew his water-sprung conch, even as a sovereign of the celestials filleth clouds with rain. And agitated by the arrows of Narayana, with their senses bewildered by the blares of the conch, the broken Rakshasa forces made for Lanka. And the Rakshasa army, having been broken in consequence of the beating it got from the hands of Narayana, Somali with showers of shafts resisted Hari in the encounter, and as a mist envelops the sun, he enveloped him with his arrows. Thereat, the Rakshasas again summoned up their fortitude, and fired with rage, the Rakshasa, inflated with insolence on account of his strength, setting up a tremendous roar, darted at his antagonist in the conflict, thereby seeming to revive the Rakshasas. And as an elephant flourishes its trunk, the Rakshasa, lifting up his arm adorned with ornaments, began to roar from rapture like a mass of clouds lighted up with lightning. And Vishnu cut off the head, flaming with earrings of the charioteer of the shouting Somali, and thereat the horses of the Rakshasa aimlessly strayed hither and thither. And with his bewildered steeds, Somali wanders like a person deprived of patience whose senses are under a hallucination. And on Somali's car being drawn at random by his steeds, Mali, taking his bow and equipped therewith, darted at Vishnu's car and assailed that mighty armed one as he was descending on the field of fight. And thereat, as a person holding his senses under subjection is not thrown out of his mental balance, Vishnu, assailed in that encounter with thousands of arrows shot by Mali, was not disturbed ever so little. And then that creator of all beings, the reverend Gadadhara, twanging his bowstring, showered volleys of arrows on Mali. And getting at Mali's body, the arrows, furnished with the luminousness of lightning, drink his blood like unto serpents drinking nectar. And baffling Mali, the holder of the conch, discus, and mace, brought down Mali's crown, standard, bow, and steeds. And then that foremost of night rangers, on being deprived of his car, sprang forward, mace in hand, even as a lion bounds up from the brow of a hillock. And he, with his mace, smote at the forehead of that lord of birds, even as Yama the destroyer had smitten Ishana, or as Indra smiteth a mountain with his thunderbolt. On being severely struck by Mali with his mace, Garuda, writhing in torments, moved the god away from the field of battle. On the Lord, having been removed from the field by Mali as well as Garuda, there arose a mighty din of the Rakshasas, roaring in chorus. And hearing the cheers of the Rakshasas, Indra's younger brother, the reverend Hari, sitting awry on that lord of birds, albeit moved off from the scene of conflict, waxing enraged from a desire of slaying Mali, hurled his disc at him. And thereat the disk, possessed of the splendor of the solar disk and resembling the wheel itself of Kala, flooding all the heavens with radiance, brought down Mali's head to the ground. And that head of the Lord of Rakshasas, terrific to behold, on being cut off by Lord Vishnu, vomiting blood, fell down before the Rakshasas as formerly Rahu's head had fallen. And then the deities, experiencing excess of joy, set up leonine cheers with might and main, crying, "Excellent, O Lord, excellent!" Seeing Mali slain, Sumali and Malyavan, burning in grief, fled precipitately towards Lanka along with their forces. And Garuda, being cheered, turned round and, growing enraged as before, drove the Rakshasas with the wind of his wings. And some with their lotus faces cut off by the discus, some with their chests crushed with the mace, some with their necks torn off by the plough, some with their heads riven by the club, and some hewn by the sword, and others pierced by the arrows, the Rakshasas began to drop fast from the sky into the waters of the ocean. And as a thunderbolt with lightning riveth a mighty mass of clouds, Narayana, by means of the thunderbolts of his arrows discharged from his bow, rived the night rangers with their hair dishevelled and streaming in the wind. And the forces, having their umbrellas rent, their arms falling off, their goodly garments scattered, their entrails coming out, and their eyes rolling, became incapable of distinguishing their own party from that of the foe. And even like roars and vehemence displayed by elephants on being attacked by the lions, the roars and vehemence of the night rangers and their elephants, sore assailed by the primeval lion, were equal. and driven by Hari's network of arrows and discharging all the while their own showers of shafts, those night rangers resembling the clouds of doom were driven like the veritable clouds of the universal dissolution drifted by the wind. And hewn in twain with swords, the foremost Rakshasas fell like unto hills, toppling headlong. And the earth was seen to be covered with night rangers, resembling dark clouds, adorned with jeweled necklaces and earrings falling down, as if covered with dark mountains dropping down. Mangalam Kushlendraya Mahaniya Gunamte Chakravarti Dhanurjaya Sarva Bhaumaya Mangalam.